Hi, I'm Linda, and this is No Frills ASMR. I thought today we could discuss the Ides of March. Beware, the Ides of March are upon us. Which has become a thing people say mostly because of the work of our friend William Shakespeare. I have a little light reading material for us here. But Shakespeare, this is the Shakespeare the Complete Works, the Oxford Shakespeare, wrote a historical play based on the life, the tragedy of Julius Caesar. So let's just look up real quick so we have the quote correct. We're going to look at page 673. So if you'd like to get out your copy and follow along, the print is kind of small. 673. Ooh, I opened up look at that. All right. The Tragedy of Julius Caesar. So we'll just start at the beginning. No, we won't. I'm kidding. I'm joking. All right. Let's see. The quote is right in here somewhere. So Caesar is the Roman emperor. He was the dictator, actually, of the Roman Republic. And this is in, well, actually, here, I'll just do a quick. There's a video I have called What Century Is It? And if you're ever curious about that, you can check that out. But so AD goes this way to us, and then BC goes this way. And we are in the year 44 BC. So this goes way back. Now, Shakespeare was writing during the early 1600s. I'm not sure what year Julius Caesar was written, but Shakespeare, I think he was around from like 1564 to 1616 was his life. And I know that off the top of my head, you guys. I know a bit about Shakespeare. I have a video on Shakespeare too, if you're curious. But so this is written way after the fact, by the way. However, the Romans did keep historical records, and there's a lot of writing about what happened on that day of the spoiler alert, the assassination of Julius Caesar. But leading up to it, Caesar and his wife Calpurnia would speak with soothsayers, and this was a popular thing in Rome at the time, to really kind of believe in soothsayers and those kind of things. And so here in this play, they have the soothsayer is speaking to Caesar, and he says, "Beware the Ides of March." Well, it's kind of interesting because the soothsayer, is speaking of the Ides of March before it had anything to do with Caesar. So a lot of people, sorry I said that over there, think that the Ides of March is, specifically about Caesar. But the reality is the Roman calendar didn't have days like ours does. It wasn't numbered 1 through whatever. They would basically, I believe it was kind of when the full moon is the Ides of the month, which is sort of the center of the month. And the beginning of the month was called the nones, or at least that was like 8 days pre the full moon, I think, or 9 days. And then the Ides would generally be the 13th or the 15th of the month. And then the calends would be either the very end or the very beginning of the month, depending on how you look at it. And calends is where we've got the current word calendar, came from calends. But anyway, so what I'm saying, long-winded, is that Ides predates, the assassination of Caesar. It wasn't just a, gosh, I'm flipping to things so easily. It wasn't just a, named after that. Does that make sense? So Ides, this is in the unabridged dictionary because I have to have the largest books. I can't have the regulars. Anyway, Ides, it says construed as singular or plural in the ancient Roman calendar, the 15th day of March, May, July, or October, and the 13th day of other months. So, yeah, so Ides is really the name of the time of the month. Let me set this down. But has become known a lot because of the Shakespeare work, The Tragedy of Julius Caesar. Is that what it was called? I think so. And he wrote about that. Also within that play, and my husband used to do some acting, and so he was telling me that there is a scene in here where, I don't know where it is, but where I think it's Cassius is speaking to Brutus. And sorry, I was just kind of trying to glance for it because anyway, but Cassius is speaking to Brutus. Now Brutus was close with Caesar. He was friendly with Caesar for a long time. But Caesar, once he gained more and more power, became more and more of a dictator. And the other senators from Rome are trying to kind of convince Brutus that Caesar's got to go. And they start talking to him about how Caesar starts believing that he's better than, that you have to walk through his huge legs, and that he eats meat that's better than the meat we eat. Like, he's really the same as us, but he believes he's bigger and greater and better than us. And basically, they convince Brutus that Caesar is not good for the Republic anymore, that he has become too much of a dictator, and he won't give that up. And it's not healthy, even though you might like Caesar, what's more important, mankind and the Republic, or this one man's life? And so Brutus ends up, well, actually, I have an idea. Hold on. I have an idea. I don't know. That's as you like it. I don't need to mark that. Okay. Hold up. Sorry. I think I'll use this thing from the State of the Union video that I did. I have this, because I already had my little guys out to show you something, but I just realized this will probably work really well. So the day of March 15th, 44 BC, Caesar is getting ready to go to a meeting of all the senators. And there are some senators who support Caesar, and then there are the senators who are starting to not support Caesar. And Caesar is at home, and he's talking to his wife. And she says, "Don't go today. It's not good. Like, the soothsayer said it's not good, and I'm not feeling, confident about it." And so Caesar says, "Yeah, I kind of hear you," and sends his cohort, Mark Antony, to the Senate to tell them meeting's off. So Mark Antony goes to do that, and one of Caesar's people he trusts, but also who is starting to deal with the other senators, goes to convince Caesar to come to the meeting. And I have heard that part of how they convinced him was basically to say, "You can't let your wife tell you what to do. Come on, that doesn't look great. You look kind of wimpy letting your wife tell you." So Caesar's like, "Yeah, you're right." So he gets on his fancy wool robe with gold, thread in it, and gets on his gold throned chariot situation that slaves carry, and he gets carried over to the forum, or whatever you call the meeting place. So he goes there, and this is, anyway, this is on the March 15th, which is now the Ides of March, and he gets up there on his podium, and there is actually a statue of Pompey, who is his biggest, enemy in that forum. And all these, they were actually other senators. They crowd around him, and they have daggers, which are kind of small, I think, knives, and they stab him, including his kind of right-hand man, Brutus, stabs him. And in the Shakespeare play, Caesar, while dying, says, "Et tu, Brute." And you will hear people say that, and it means sort of, even you, Brutus. And so if you ever have a friend who, lies to you or gangs up against you, you can say, "Et tu, Brute." And it means you were my friend, and even you are turning on me. But apparently within the Roman accounts, some people said that he did maybe mutter something, but it was more like a dying gasp of breath. But then there are also some accounts that are sort of more exciting to me, that he said, "Kai su teknon." And apparently that means, "You too, my child." And the story is that Caesar had a love affair with a woman, and she was really a love of his life, and he gave her a very expensive pearl. And that's, been actually there's historical record of that. And she was Brutus's mother. And maybe he didn't know until that moment of Caesar's death when he said, "Kai su teknon." I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But what I do know is that the people who supported Caesar apparently tried to rush to help him, but there were so many senators, or assassins in this case. I don't know if they're all senators, but they were part of that. Assassins blocking, that they couldn't get in. And once they realized Caesar was dead, they kind of started to realize they might be outnumbered and killed themselves, so they all ran and went home. And so then these guys are kind of like, what do we do now? So they all left, and Caesar lays there dead until nightfall. And at that time, I think his wife comes and gathers his body and brings him home. And that is March 15th, 44 BC, and the Ides of March. Trying to think if there's any other tidbits about that I wanted to tell you. Let's look. Where'd I put it? Hold on. I spilled a bottle of water today near my desk, and I had to clean it up and move. And this is even damp, which isn't bad. The more damp it gets, the more crinkly. So it's not the first time. You know what's funny? I spilled 2 bottles of water today. One in my bedroom and one in here. I don't know. All right, I'm looking up the Ides of March in here. Oh, that's right. This isn't in alphabetical order, really. Let's look back here. And maybe we'll try to see if we can find the part in the play where it says "Et tu, Brute." Ides of March, page 201. Ooh, Skinner box. Okay, that looks interesting. Maybe we'll go get a rat and try. No, I'm just kidding. 201. Ides of March. March 15th in the ancient Roman calendar, the day in 44 BC on which Julius Caesar was assassinated. That's it. That's all you got. All right. Should we see if Julius Caesar, would that be interesting or no? I'm not sure. But, you know, if you ever want to use, like, the Ides of March are upon us, it's kind of fun to say it, like, as a spooky, like, things are going to go wrong, and, or kind of spooky. Or if you just have, like, a weird day where, I remember when I worked as a waitress, and we'd have, like, those weird days. And if it happened in March, I'd always say, oh, it's the Ides of March. Which a lot of times would coincide with a full moon, and that is a weird day when you wait tables. I don't know why. What am I looking up? Oh, Caesar. I don't know why, but for real, a full moon will make people act strange at restaurants. Have any of you ever worked retail and noticed that? Caesar Augustus. How do I know if I'm looking up the right one? 23 and 197. You know what's weird is Caesar is spelled C-A. Who's doing that? What? I don't see him. He must be part of something else. Okay. 197. Oh, is that going to be what we just read about the Ides of March? Caesar, the family name of Julius Caesar, of the next 11 rulers of Rome who were emperors. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I just saw Brutus right there. Darn it. I kind of want to look that up now. Where were we on page 197? So Antony, that, you know, Caesar sent, he ended up working with, Caesar had an adopted son. I think his name was like Octavius or Octavian or something like that. And Caesar Mark Antony ended up like working with him to try to bring back, I don't know, the rule of Caesar, I guess, whatever. And then he married Cleopatra, and they like hid out in Egypt, and he eventually died by suicide, I believe. Okay, anyway, that's a different story. Brutus, an ancient Roman politician who helped assassinate his friend, Julius Caesar. Brutus is the leading character in the play Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. Caesar is said to have addressed Brutus with the words, "Et tu, Brute, even you, Brutus," as Brutus stabbed him. The sentence has become a proverbial response to betrayal. Yes, it's a good one. Et tu, Brute. All right, I think we did it, guys. I think that's everything. Do we want to try to find in here just for fun? It might be hard to find without knowing. Where'd I put it? Am I gonna have to look this up? There's Shakespeare. I'm just looking for where there's Caesar still talking, because these all have Cassius, Brutus, Portia. Here's Caesar. At what point do they kill him? Caesar. Cuckoo. Okay, he's still alive here. Antony. Aha! How about that? I found it. So here we have I don't know what it would be. They have Caesar. Doth not Brutus bootless kneel? And Casca coming forward and kneeling. Speak hands for me. They stab Caesar. Casca first, Brutus last. And Caesar says, Et tu, Brute? Then fall Caesar. He dies. And then Cinna says, Liberty, freedom, tyranny is dead. Run hence, proclaim, cry it about the streets. Yeah, there's a famous line from this play that's, can't think of it right now, but anyway, all right, well, there you go. So the Ides of March are the 15th of March, and it's when Julius Caesar was assassinated in 44 BC by, well, his friend Brutus, along with others who stabbed him to death. And so now it's kind of known as a bewitching time or a menacing time, or